Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, July the 18th, brought to you in part by NationalBeefWire.com. Today's spotlight is looking at the TSCRA, Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association channel. It's channel 801. If you go onto National Beef Wire and check it out, there's a lot of different channels that kind of spotlight one thing or another. You can even build your own channel if you want to set it on your desk through the day if you're working inside like that, and can have a sale up that you want to watch live, and then have several news items up there every day that you're interested in. But check out NationalBeefWire.com. The heat's mounting, and I tell you what, we've really talked about little else this week but the heat, and that is the biggest thing that's affected your markets. It's starting to cause your fat cattle sellers to kind of bail out a little bit, even though we are they kind of had the leverage early week in the trade, but they've started to kind of bail out as the heat keeps mounting. That's hard on their all their cattle, especially the ones that are on the show list, the heaviest cattle that they've had the longest. The board continues to drift lower every day, starting to affect the market on your yearling feeder cattle. It definitely has affected your calf market around, but the heat's going to continue to mount, and probably the only good thing is as it gets to its worst, as Wednesday was actually the first day that it really made an effect in your cattle country, but as it works a little bit lower into the last part of the week, by the time it makes its full effect, we're going to be into the weekend, and there won't be any board or much trade going on to hurt the market anymore. But let's talk about your board on Wednesday. August live cattle futures down a dime at 108.12. October down 50 cents at 108.75. Suddenly your board was overbought. You know, we talked for 2 or 3 weeks about bullish signals on your cattle board, but then a week ago Tuesday we saw that big run up, which seems like a long time ago now, but suddenly your board was overbought, and that's kind of hard to believe. But those technical indicators just kind of swap back and forth all the time. But August feeder cattle down 47 cents at 140.57. September down $1.10 at 140.77. Your fat cattle trade has started to develop, and as far as the Southern Plains goes, it's pretty much established. $1 lower at $1.11, and all in Kansas. Several traded in Kansas, a few even in Texas. But your packers were fairly aggressive with all your major packers bidding there and trying to get some cattle secured, which makes you wonder why your fat cattle sellers wouldn't hold out for a little bit more. And like I said earlier, that's mostly due to the heat, but also due to the basis. I tell you what, we've got the spot live cattle futures down just over $1.08 now. And so that's a good $3 basis now for your Southern Plains guys. The Northern Plains we started seeing trade in Nebraska at 113, so that's a $5 basis, and that's helping those guys achieve their break evens, and that's still $2 lower than the bulk of your live sales in the Northern Plains last week. We did see some dress trade in the Northern Plains from 183 to 185 mostly. Iowa, which we've talked of late, is starting to sell at a premium to everywhere else because we have a lot of those Iowa farmer feeders that are feeding for quality and not as much for efficiency, which your regional packers love because they really want those premium carcasses. Did have a few live sales in Iowa like that, bringing 116 and a quarter up to 117, so you can see the premium there. Box beef cutout values continue to drift lower, even though we kind of had that bullish report on the comprehensive box beef report earlier this week, but they continue to drift lower seasonally, but not as bad as we've seen in other years. But choice cuts on Wednesday afternoon were 212.57, down 36 cents. Selects down at 188.34 now. That was down 82 cents for the day on Wednesday, but good movement. That's the positive thing, and that was the most positive thing on that comprehensive report. But just on Wednesday, 200 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings, and that's a big movement for a day's time right there, especially when we're seeing so much of the trade happening way out front now, and it's not it's harder to gauge really what the market is because that's the way they're doing it, similar to the way your cattle are selling formula for the most part. But let's look at your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on Cattle Market Central late in the day on Wednesday sitting at 138.74, down $2.70 from just the previous day, just on Tuesday. We had those big Wednesday sales coming in. Your market's quite a bit tougher as we really got into that high heat and humidity. And you're just not as aggressive as they were a week ago, coming off that big Tuesday, a week ago Tuesday, where the board was up so much. And then, like we said earlier, the boards just continued to drift lower. And then as word started coming in that your basis jumpers were selling fats a pinch lower, well, that spread like wildfire, and your feeder buyers backed up just a little bit there too. OKC West 9,100 head, including the 1,500 head or so calves that they had on Tuesday. But your feeder cattle, remember that whale of a sale they had a week ago? I talked about it because I stopped in there and got to watch a lot of it. And those cattle selling $7 to $9 higher for the most part on your feeder cattle. Well, we come back this week, feeders $1 to $4 lower for the most part, and your market news Federal State Market Report said spots of $6 to $8 lower on your heavier weight steer cattle. You look at the Cattle Market Central Market Report, automated market report right here, and it looks to me more like $2 to $5 lower, with your heavier weights mostly $2 to $3 lower. Now, I know this is a automated report here where they're all piling in there, and I used to say when I was a market reporter, you can't necessarily just use weighted averages to gauge the market unless there's a lot of volume. Well, guess what? In your 8 and 9 weight categories, there was a lot of volume again. And I'd say that's pretty true, but not knocking anything. But look at this report and look at your steers there, and I'm going to talk about your best tested weights. Your 8 weights, there was 1,478 head of 8 weight steers. They averaged 835 at 133.75. That was down $2.86 from the weighted average the previous week, which was well tested also. 1,236 head of 9 weight steers averaged 948 at 125.38, and that was $2.23 lower than the weighted average of just the same Wednesday a week ago. Was traveling across southern Missouri on Wednesday, stopped into Springfield Livestock Marketing Center, and they were having a good sale in there. And got to talk to my friend Rick Huffman there that reports the market, talked to several of the guys there at Springfield and several of the producers that I haven't seen for some time. But you look at these cattle, this picture taken out in the country of these cattle, these black baldy steers that they brought in there, sold really well. I got to watch them. 85 head of 621 pound weaned but green calves. The whole potload of them there. And the one thing, the main term I want you to hear is calves. Not yearlings, but calves. Good calves. Top quality. Best thing, but they could have brought even more if they'd have been lighter weight yearlings. But of course, we're starting to get into the calf market. So, but 85 head of 621 pound top quality black white faced calves bring 162.50 in Springfield, Missouri on Wednesday, and that's an awful good ticket. Look at your best ticket for the day. Bluegrass Stockyards East, Mount Sterling, Kentucky. 57 head of big 929 pound steers in Mount Sterling bring 136.95, and they squeezed every drop out of that load of yearlings right there. But that's your feeder flash for Thursday.